Welcome back to Cooking New Jersey. This is my first cooking video. We're here in my house's kitchen, and today we're going to make New Jersey's favorite meal, pizza. And we're going to use ingredients that were raised and made right here in New Jersey. So our flour comes from wheat in western New Jersey. Our tomatoes come from a farm in central New Jersey. The salt comes from a business in Cape May County. And the mozzarella is made right at my local supermarket, right over here in Washington Township. So we're also going to take a little journey. We're going to go out to a farm in Hunterdon County that grows organic wheat for the flour that we'll be using today. And yeah, I think it's going to be fun. So come along for the journey and let's see how it goes. In early January, I hopped in the car and got out of Bergen County and went west to Hunterdon County, which is farm country, and visited the little village of Oldwick, which is home to an organic farm called Cold Brook Farm. That's Jason and Deborah, the owners, and this is their farm. And we walked the property and talked a lot about organic farming in New Jersey.
Well, we're on 43 acres, and there's a variety of habitats here. The grain farming that we do is on little over 10.5 acres. This farm's been in perpetual use as far back as anyone can remember, at least till the 1700s. This part of the state was actually the breadbasket of the original 13 colonies. We farm both organically and regeneratively, so we don't use any synthetic soil inputs on the field. We've grown Danko rye, einkorn wheat, and Glen wheat thus far.
Stay tuned to the Cooking New Jersey YouTube channel where I will post the entire interview at Cold Brook Farm. It was fascinating, and I hope this to be the first of many visits with farms around the Garden State. After we were done, we went inside where Jason and Deborah generously offered to grind some of their organic grain into flour. I can't thank them enough for their generosity. Stay tuned for an ASMR bread cut. I love that crunch.
We do too.
It's lovable.
And they even sent me home with some bread and some flour. Okay, now it's time to get into the kitchen and get cooking. Okay, here are our ingredients and tools for making an all New Jersey pizza. First thing we have is a pizza stone. I'm going to put that in the oven and warm that for about an hour. A pizza peel that will help me get it on and off the stone. Those were borrowed from a friend. Thank you very much, Jimmy. We have for our dough, we have bread flour, and we have for dusting our work surface all-purpose flour. We have locally made mozzarella cheese. I also have some cheesecloth here. I will probably try to drain this a little bit and get some of the moisture out of it. I have our grater for that, hydroponic, locally grown basil, local raw honey, salt from Cape May, New Jersey, a little bit of olive oil that's needed for the dough recipe. First Field, this is a pizza sauce that I'm using, and again, they are out of Windsor, New Jersey, central part of the state. I've got my measuring cup and a thermometer for getting the temperature right for our yeast. I've got our measuring spoons and dry measure cup for our flour, a couple of towels here just to keep the mess under control, an iPad for following the recipe, and of course a little bit of wine because that makes everything better. Okay, first thing we're going to do in advance of everything is get our oven on, and we're going to push it up about as high as it can go. We're going to go up to about 510 here on this. And I've already opened up the oven, gotten rid of the top two or the top and middle tray, and we're going to just use the bottom tray. And we're going to pop our pizza stone in there in a cold oven. Okay, so we're ready to start with our dough. We're going to start with our yeast mixture first, which I've already pre-measured. So we're looking to get water at right around 110 degrees, and that's right where that is. Let's see. We're going to add our pre-measured yeast to this. And we're going to add a tablespoon of honey. Now, honey activates the yeast. Honey from Stockton, New Jersey. I'm going to use a little bit of French olive oil, just a tablespoon's worth. That goes right into there. And a quick whisk up with this. So this we're just simply going to let sit for 5 to 10 minutes. and let it activate and do its thing. Now this recipe calls for 2 3/4 cups of whole wheat flour. So there's 1, 2, and we're just going to guesstimate on the 3/4. And that's what it looks like. Maybe just a little bit less. Okay, this looks good. This looks really good. Just have a quick look at that. That has begun to activate nicely, and that's going to look really good in our dough. So we're going to go ahead and begin the process of adding in our salt and our yeast mixture. I'm going to add in, I don't know, about a teaspoon of salt. And then we will slowly add our yeast mixture. This doesn't take long at all. This is going to get right down into a nice dough ball pretty much immediately. All right, let's have a look at that. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we're going to dust our working surface with the all-purpose grain from River Valley Community Grains. And this feels more like a semolina. It's not as super chalky as a white flour. I would put it somewhere in terms of grain size, somewhere between a traditional flour and a semolina. Okay, here we go. And that's our dough ball. All right, let's turn it over. And from here, we're going to work it. So we're going to continue to fold it like a traditional dough. All right, it's feeling good. It's feeling spongy. You can see it as it begins to bounce. I like that. I like the look of that. Okay, we are going to set that aside for a minute and let it do its thing. We will have it in a minute and then we'll roll it out. In the meantime, I just need to grate up a little mozzarella for the topping, and I have this in cheesecloth just to get rid of some of the extra moisture, and we will cut this down to sort of make it a little bit easier to work with. That is looking good. All right. Now, not gonna lie, having a little snack of this is delicious. Right about there looks good. Set you aside. Now we're gonna push out our dough. Until it's at about the size of the peel. And we'll just use a rolling pin to make that work. Now we have 2 pieces, but I'm only going to bake off one at a time. It doesn't really work well when you have 2 pizzas in the oven at the same time. It just winds up typically the one on top does not get as well cooked as the one on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to sauce up the pizza now. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a stir. And you don't want too much sauce. Too much sauce makes your pizza wet. We'll do a little bit of olive oil just on the outside edge. This makes for a really nice crust. That's grate and some grated. Not too much of this as well. This is wet. All of these things add a little bit of moisture. Mozzarella has very high moisture content. And finally, just a couple of quick leaves of basil. This makes this taste great, and we can just tear these, honestly. Lay them down. There don't have to be a lot of them. Just a few. It really does add something to the pizza when it's finely cooked. And that is our pizza. Now, again, we want to make sure it moves on our peel. We don't want it to get sticky or not able to get into the oven. Right onto our stone. And we'll let that go. And while that's cooking, we'll go ahead and make pizza number 2. Okay. All right, so we want this to move on the peel, just like that. I'm going to get a look at our pie in the oven. Look at that. He'll go up here. And pizza number 2. Oh my goodness. That is delicious. First taste of all New Jersey pizza. It's pizza. I don't know if there's any secret to it. You don't really get a sense of the crust being brown or whole wheat. Really what you get is a nice semi-crunchy, semi-chewy crust. Beauty of the cheese, a little bit of sauce and flavor coming through. Nothing fancy. I mean, pizza is a humble food to begin with. So good. So good. Pizza from New Jersey. You know where the flour comes from, you know where the tomatoes come from, you know where the basil comes from, you know where the salt comes from. It all comes from farms and businesses not very far from where you live. That's the beauty of New Jersey agriculture. Hey, if you've made it this far, thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next Cooking New Jersey video.